There's a little story called Pond Life. It's in my next book, Porch Talk, which is coming out in May. I've always wanted waterfront property, but the local geography has never cooperated except to occasionally fill our basement with water. I tried talking my wife into buying a lakefront cabin, but she resisted. Most of the people in the world don't own one house, she said. Why should we own two? I pointed out that the same thing could be said of toilets, but she didn't budge. Eventually, it occurred to me that instead of moving my family to water, I could move the water to my family. Let's put in a pond, I suggested to Joanne. We could fill it with fish and water lilies and have a little waterfall and listen to the gurgle of water. It would be just like living beside a mountain stream. Mountain stream proved to be the winning combination of words, and Joanne consented. Within a week, 3 teenage boys were digging a large hole beside our patio, heaping the dirt on one end for a waterfall. I sat in a lawn chair and supervised, which was hard enough given how teenagers resist direction. After the hole was dug, it was lined with rubber, surrounded by stacked stone, then filled with water. I plugged in the pump. A faint whoosh was heard, and water began tumbling over the stones, our own little Niagara. Let's get some fish, Joanne said, warming to the idea of waterfront property. So we read a book about goldfish and koi and how not to kill them, then spent a tidy sum of money buying a dozen fish to stock our pond. We followed the book precisely, gradually acclimating the fish to our pond, fine-tuning the pH balance to provide the optimum environment. The third morning, Sam, our youngest, rushed in the house to share the happy news that the fish knew how to swim on their backs. The second bunch of fish lasted nearly a week before a wandering herd of raccoons eviscerated them. The fish that replaced them died of a gruesome fungus, and the batch after that were a midnight snack for a great blue heron. The boy next door, Johnny, shunning every rule of proper fish handling, filched a goldfish from a neighbor's pond, carried it around in his pocket for half a day, taking it out every now and then to dunk it in water, then finally, almost as an afterthought, pitched it in our pond, where it has thrived. Growing to immense proportions, I woke up one night to the sound of gagging and had to perform the Heimlich maneuver on a great blue heron who had managed to get the fish lodged in its throat. The heron spat the goldfish across the pond, staggered away, and hasn't been seen since. Fish, we read in our fish book, keep a pond free of mosquitoes, but our fish is a slacker in the insect department. At the start, clouds of mosquitoes regularly rose from our pond, exposing us to a host of diseases. Fortunately, a thick scum of algae soon coated the pond, choking out the mosquitoes. The algae is now so dense I can walk upon the waters, startling passers-by and boosting my reputation. I've seen magazine pictures of pristine ornamental ponds surrounded by lush fauna with attractive people enjoying witty conversation in the cool shade. Those pictures were not taken at my house. Shortly after the pond was dug, in a reckless moment, I added 2 tadpoles to it, hoping one of them would survive to adulthood. I wasn't aware that frogs are religious, but these must be Roman Catholic. They have sired numerous offspring and are still going at it. Scientists maintain that frogs are declining in number, disappearing from wetlands, but I can assure you that rumors of their demise are exaggerated. Poets wax eloquent about the croak of the bullfrog and the throb of the spring peepers, but we can't sleep for the racket. The frogs have taken over our patio, green thugs in black t-shirts, toting their skateboards, blaring their music, sneering at us as we hurry past, our eyes averted. A man down the road stopped by the house last summer to see our pond. In junior high school, he had bullied me mercilessly, and I've wanted to pay him back ever since. "How do you like your pond?" he asked. "I've been thinking of putting one in." "You won't regret it," I told him. "They're so relaxing, plus they increase the value of your home." Worry lines now crease his forehead, and large bags have formed under his eyes. He phoned me one evening this past spring. "How do you get rid of mosquitoes?" "Oh, that's easy. You get frogs." "Start with tadpoles, but they die off easily, so you should buy several dozen." That so much misery could emanate from such a small area is a wonder. When our pond was first installed, a recovering pond owner asked why I had decided to mess up what had been a pretty good life. I told him I had loved a pond in my childhood. It was a pond in the field behind our home. It had begun life as a stream, then an ambitious neighbor with a bulldozer fashioned an earthen dam, and the waters rose behind it, forming the arena for many of my childhood adventures. In the summer of my 10th year, Wally at Logan's Mobile patched a truck inner tube and gave it to me. I lashed several boards across the top and pulled the raft across the pond. In the winter, we stretched rope across each end of the pond to serve as hockey goals. When winter gave way to spring, before the bugs set in, we would camp on its shore, loosed from the tether of parental oversight. One summer, I very nearly talked a local beauty into skinny dipping with me. But at the last moment, her Methodist virtue carried the day. That pond played a central role in my adolescent yearnings, the stage for travel, bedlam, freedom, and romance. There are things, houses, fields, lakes, which loom large in our childhood, though when visited in later years are diminished. That pond was once an ocean to me, but now can be cleared in 3 steps and a hop. I have no idea where that water went, just as I have no idea how my smooth skin and hair were lost. Like most attempts to recreate the charms of one's past, this venture into pond life has been a mixed one. The moments of transcendence few. The cast and crew who populate my speckled memories are now gone, a few of them dead, most of them dispersed across the country. But some nights, while I'm lying in bed, The frogs will commence their evening song, and I am 13 again, camping with Tim Hadley at the pond, discussing matters of great import. Methodist girls, cars, Baptist girls, hunting, Quaker girls. We were nothing if not ecumenical. Tim can no longer enjoy the pleasures of reminiscence. A drunken driver took his life in 1981. Sometimes, while sitting by my pond, I think of Tim and our pond life. I think of the wife he never married, the children he never had. And it occurs to me that while some things, houses, fields, lakes, diminish over time, other things, loss, grief, the heartbreak of lives cut short, do not. There is much good to recollect while seated by my pond, and much sorrow too, and sometimes they are one and the same.